UFC 311 is done. 2 fighters on the pound-for-pound list found their way into the win column. And I will say Islam Makhachev was already number 1, so it's tough for him to go any higher. But where do we go on the UFC pound-for-pound rankings with Merab Dvalishvili? Well, let's find out. No one knew on the pound-for-pound rankings this month. Alex Volkanovski is still at number 10. No, he does not have a championship right now. Yes, he is just hanging on to the back end of that pound-for-pound list. But I still think that he was up at number 2. He has really only fought to guys who are in the top 3. And so it's tough to really knock him off of this right now. Alejandro Pantoja is up next at number 9. The flyweight champion of the world is holding on to that spot toward the back end of the top 10, but a very impressive performance in his last fight makes it a pretty interesting 2025 to see if he can move up. At number 8, it is the welterweight champion of the world, Belal Muhammad. It's an interesting test coming up against Shavkat Rakhmonov, who didn't look as dominant as you would have liked against Ian Machado Gary when they fought. So an interesting test coming up for Belal Muhammad. And he is one who moves down this week. But he moves down so Merab can move up. Merab Dvalishvili comes in at 7. He moves up a spot after an amazing performance. He has beat someone who was on this list previously in Sean O'Malley. Umar would have been on this list if he would have picked up the win over Merab. It does still feel low for Merab to be down at 7, but the list of great fighters ahead of him, it's just too much for me to move Merab any higher than I did on this list. At 6, Jon Jones stays there, albeit an impressive performance against Stipe Miocic, but I can't put him any higher because, again, the top 5 right now in the Ultimate Fighting Championship is insane. At number 5, it's Tom Aspinall, who is knocking everybody out on his way to interim heavyweight greatness. Hopefully that is something that gets resolved here in 2025. At 4, it is Dricus du Plessis, the middleweight champion of the world right now in the Ultimate Fighting Championship. He has shown a lot, and it is a unique style that is difficult to deal with, and it is one that has kind of created this aura around him. And now he has a fight with Sean Strickland coming up next month. I do find it will be a bit difficult for him to crack the top 3, given how tough the rankings are right now, but this is not a statement on Dricus du Plessis, who I think, I'm done taking him for granted. I now have to accept that this is a guy who can really put on a show in the middleweight division. At 3, it is Ilia Topuria. He has a win over a guy who is on this list and a win over a guy who was on this list in Volkanovski and Holloway. So I think he has to stay up there at 3. At 2, it's Alex Pereira. He is, I think, deserving of an opportunity to get a shot at a title in a 3rd weight class, moving up to heavyweight, depending on what happens with Jon Jones and Tom Aspinall. But for now, we will take him just dominating at 205 pounds. And then Islam Makhachev is still the number 1 pound-for-pound fighter, stays number 1 with a excellent, dominant performance. Again, his first 2 wins with the light heavyweight championship were against Alex Volkanovski, who is number 2 at the time. You just don't move from that number 1 spot if you've beaten number 2 twice now. So he stays as the number 1 pound-for-pound fighter in the Ultimate Fighting Championship.